This one's different. I've never been a huge fan of these Japanese anime and JRPG art styles, but this one is different. Void Diver tasks you as the manager of an artifact shop owned by BALUSHA. After a void opens up in the center of town and causing a mass casualty event, a few entrepreneurial types takes advantage of the chaos and fallout that ensued. Don't be turned away from the art style just yet. The Lovecrafty and pixel horror will win you over in time, I promise. We're the orphan with our parents implied lost to the void. The owner of BALUSHA has been supporting us as we make our way through the studies, finishing with excellent grades. Now it appears our task will be to manage the shop itself as a favor for the support over the years of our study. We are introduced to Elara, our personal assistant. I certainly wish I could ask her to address me by name. Going by manager just doesn't sit right with me. Elara informs us about our first task. A rescue request in the dungeon. We're brought into the tutorial dungeon and introduced to Gayung, a youngster who found herself in the dungeon in search for a personal item. Gayung has no interest in being rescued, instead takes off in search for this mysterious item. We are finally put in control of Gayung, a sword-wielding, late female teen with exorcism tools. Sounds like my older sister. Love you, sis. Leaving this room, we run into our first few enemies. Combat in Void Diver includes basic attacks, secondary attacks. We have a dodging ability as well as 3 additional abilities. As we make our way through some of the environmental traps, we are introduced to the main gameplay loop. Void Diver is an extraction shooter where you repeatedly venture into different areas to pick up items for potential buyers. Kinda reminds me a little bit of Moonlighter. We continue forward and is introduced to the stress mechanic. As you continue on your adventures, you will find your stress increasing naturally from ability use and also from creatures directly impacting your stress level. With increased stress levels, you will eventually be haunted by these shadow monsters. One way of lowering your stress level is, of course, to kill these monsters, but your main way will be by limiting stress through different consumables and various other items. For example, these sedatives. We eventually come face to face with this thing. I told you the art style is gonna change. With no option to engage or attack the monster, we pull out Gayung from the dungeon. Clearly shocked by the experience, Gayung is informed about the monsters that lurk in the dungeons, including those with powers to drive you insane immediately. We'll experience this a little bit later. After returning to BALUSHA and discussing the appropriate compensation for our services, Gayung voluntarily applies as a diver, approved by me, as a manager of course. And so we find ourselves in control of Gayung again, inside of the antique shop this time. Elara wastes no time instructing us to familiarize ourselves with the shop itself and make a visit to all of the different NPCs. We start out by visiting Felix, who is a technical advisor and gives us the ability to change our skills around. Felix is also able to unlock different traits. Skills are the active abilities that we're using during a dive. Gayung has a chain launch as well as the exorcism seal currently equipped. We can change these out for 3 other abilities as we'd like. Character traits themselves are passives, increasing things like your health pool, defense, damage, and so on. Next up, we have the shopkeeper Lucas. You will not believe it, but Lucas sells and buys stuff. Last but not least, we have Narcissus, a mirror that reflects the inner abyss of its user. That's a pretty awesome way of explaining the mechanic of changing your character. In the beginning, you will have 3 different characters available. Gayung, the melee sword fighter we just saw a little bit ago here. And then we have Nua, the shotgun-wielding headless Dulan. And lastly, we have Mio, a novice warlock with cat ears. What more is there to say, really? The game sure does have vibes. Gotta give it that. Before we go on our first dive, Lucas informs us about something called the Antikythera machine. To get the machine operational again, Lucas needs 10 scrap piles. These are found in the dungeon. Going back to Alara, we're introduced to the campaign selection page. Our first dive includes almost exclusively phantasms as enemies. We do have an ability that deals additional damage to these phantasms, so let's equip that with Lucas first. Spectre Cleave is a sweeping attack and a knockback in front of us. Animations here look really crisp. We're informed that the first mission doesn't have a specific item request, only instructing us to pick up whatever we can find of value. Collecting the mission, we are informed about the BALUSHA's special transport, a transportation system that anyone who have visited London in the past would recognize. I'm pretty sure. An important part of the gameplay loop should be that you are not forced to complete each mission in one go. You can always return whenever needed to refit and regroup for the next dive. More on this whole mechanic a little bit later. Boarding the phone booth, we get a countdown and then sent to our first dive. Time to loot everything and fight whatever can't be looted. We're also looking for the ancient components, our mission being to obtain items worth 7,000, as well as 5 ancient components. While in the dive, besides valuables, we will find different consumables, equipable items, as well as blueprints, such as this screaming monument and weapon blueprint for a military shotgun. Being the very first mission, we are quickly done with picking up whatever we need. Going back to Alara to call for extraction, we can see another part that is adding an increased tension while playing. Your view is very limited, making it super easy to have enemies sneak up on you from behind or even from the sides. It's a good suggestion to clear out the area around the Alara. There will be a bunch of enemies spawning when we call in the booth. We also need these scrap piles anyway. The booth itself will arrive after 15 seconds, and while this time it's not very bad when the enemies spawn, this can be really tough at later levels, especially if you're not prepared for it. Next, we talk to Alara. She instructs us to pick up our rewards from Duster, the crow. Some scrap and 5 piles of parts. The scrap piles are needed by Lucas for that machine he wanted to turn into something useful. If you didn't pay attention to the objective text already, the Antikythera, that is weird word, never seen it before. The Antikythera machine is a crafting machine, allowing construction of the blueprints that we found just a little bit earlier. Our military shotgun requires another 5 scrap piles to be crafted, however. There's a lot of already unlocked craftables, but your more powerful items will be from blueprints, of course. We then have a chat with Alara about Gayung, agreeing to hire her as a diver when the owner rings the bell of summoning. The owner. Side note here, it's really interesting with the implications of not giving the owner an actual name. I wonder if this is a conscious commentary of the corporate ideologies and the often physical anonymity of CEOs today, with most employees rarely or never actually interacting with the person who they are making money for in the first place. They might as well be a nameless individual. Anyway, we are informed about reputation levels. Increasing our reputation level, or the shop's reputation level, I guess. We are increasing the class and giving us access to more valuable and dangerous contracts. That's one convoluted way of saying we level up. With another level in the bank, we can now start picking up real contracts and continue the campaign. Let's pick up the next story mission, the sealed one. Alara explains that it's an anonymous request to retrieve a cursed item from the suburbs. We're also informed about the Voice of Liberation, a dangerous underground cultist group. Lastly, the item we're acquiring is a cursed, child-shaped statue. What could go wrong? Time to board the phone booth again. This time we have a single mission, find and retrieve the doll. Between us and the doll there is a selection of enemies, of course, and there's probably no harm in picking up some trinkets on the way, I'm sure. The lack of vision makes the game a lot more tense, and force you to move with caution around every single corner and every door. Eventually we run into these 4 cultists, around what is most likely our cursed statue. They don't cause us too much issues, placing a few purple rings on the floor for us to avoid, but beyond that, goes down pretty easy. Trying to collect the statue, the wandering Hashak ghost appears. I tried to look up the Hashak ghost, if it appears in any real-life folklore. I wasn't able to find any, so leave a comment down below if you're aware of any folklore that is depicting this Hashak. I'm not sure. This lady is significantly harder, and your first bump in difficulty, I would say. While she doesn't deal crazy amounts of damage by herself, she does this attack in front of her that almost instantly gets your stress level to max, causing shadow monsters to spawn. On top of this, she of course keeps regenerating as well. This isn't very clear. Honestly, I died a few times because I was running around looking for ways to stop her from regenerating every time she dies. Turns out you just need to kill her 3 times for her to die, and with a final swing of our sword, down she goes. Time to pick up our loot and head out of here. Another successful dive. Each dive you get these paradoxes, both negative and positive ones, that impact your character's stats and abilities. Part of building a really strong character will include finding cures for these negative paradoxes. We're now able to craft a military shotgun for Noah, so let's take a look at another character. First, we'll need to have a chat in the manager's office. Let's be thoroughly used and then respond with a corresponding invoice. Might be the most corporate sentence I have ever heard. Elara seems to agree. So I'm sure we all noticed how Mio just feels out of place, right? This whole interaction assures me that's the whole point. She's not supposed to fit in. She's this whimsical, fox-eared, spirit-wielding teen, and that's all according to the developer's intentions. Weird, but kinda wholesome. Intriguing in a way. How far could they take something like this? Anyways, Mio's cat drawings and mission report aside, we continue with Noah. Noah has this shield and an AoE ability that will pull enemies to the center and deal a small amount of damage. Pick up the last mission's rewards and be confused by this self-help book. Like I'm a 19-year-old graduate without a father. And then pick up our next mission. We have no story missions left, so only contracts to complete. Seems to be a few different contracts. Collection missions include merchandise, request items, and anomaly core collections. More interestingly, now that I'm editing, I see base defense. That would have been cool to show off if I was a YouTuber half worth my salt. Merchandise sounds good enough. Our new mission is simple enough. Collect items worth 15,000. It's awfully quiet this time. No enemies, except for this guy. He's big and slow. Got this charge and a overhead smash. Easy work with the shotgun, however. Nice to see some enemy variety already at this level. Another zombie. In a hard hat. What the fuck is that? My initial instinct is to run away, but let's follow it. I can't catch up, so let's go the other direction. We're actually already done with the contract. 15,000 isn't actually that much. A full inventory of crap and some mixed in rares will more or less get you there. Instead of leaving, I figured we'll go to the cursed vacant lot. Apparently there's a chance to get a library card there that Lucas was asking for. These floating boxes sure have some goodies in them, exclusively rare and epic items. That's what I like to see. Turns out there's another Hashak ghost here. Shouldn't be too bad, we have done this before. Somehow I get a bind on myself and instantly maxed out my stress, followed by a very predictable death. 2 things lead to this death in my mind. Firstly, my very own failure. You have access to quick slots 1 through 6. You can put items here that you will need during the dive without having to access your inventory. Things like healing and sedatives for stress relief should go in here. I didn't realize this until much later in my playthrough. A hint in the tutorial would have been great. Secondly, the game gives you this false sense of security saying if you end up in a dangerous situation, you should disengage and leave, since you can finish a contract in multiple dives. Turns out enemies are much more sticky than I'd expect and actually chase you to the end of the earth if they have to. If you're already in a dangerous situation, the combination of shadow monsters and the aggression of most dangerous creatures in the dive more or less assures there is no way for you to call the phone booth down, meaning your likelihood of getting out if you have already engaged the creatures themselves are practically zero. Lessons learned, I guess. When you die in a dive, you lose some of the items you have collected. In my experience, it's usually around 50 to 60% of your inventory and none of the equipped gear that you have. This can be adjusted when you start out the game, from not losing anything to losing everything, including the gear that you have already equipped. Back into the dive, this time looking for somewhere to use this appliance storage key I found in a previous dive. Strange appliance store sounds promising. There's so much shady shit that just entices you to interact with it everywhere. We're determined, however, we're going to the appliance store. And here we are. I can already see a room that's closed. I'm guessing that's our point of interest. First, these crazy people with guns. They're called hollows. More and more enemy types to discover everywhere. The idea of Dark Souls hollows with shotguns and assault rifles kinda makes me giggle. Time to go inside. The music always puts me on edge, but we can open the storage room without any issues. Inside we find a bunch of blue and purple items. I'm not really sure what any of these do, but I'm sure they're all great. After picking up more than 15,000 of items, we can head for the closest dive booth to make our way out of here. Mission complete. In that storage in the last mission, we found a new sword. Our training sword deals 100 damage. Our new sword, the Storm Current Blade, is purple and deals 145 damage. Let's take Gayung on the next mission using this new toy. You select an anomaly core recovery mission. Reading the flavor text, I'm instructed to defeat powerful enemies. In we go. New weapon works pretty well against these normal monsters. I found a refrigerator. Not sure what it does, but I figured I'll point it out. Also found this guy. Multiple mouths usually means evil and powerful. He has 3 mouths. Is his health bar moving? Oh shit. I think we're done. I like this game. You should play it. You can play with friends, by the way. There's a co-op as well. The demo is free after all, and our link is available in the description. Thanks for watching. Till next time, bye bye.